as possible, because it is hard. The actors, I mean, yeah, I do 22 shows. These guys are memorizing 4 shows at a time, which, that's amazing. And so I don't want to throw them too many loops or curves. I try not to. It does happen. I'm the first one to admit I've done it.
Hey, Helen, good to see you.
Hello, Tony. How are you?
I'm well. How are
Good.
you?
I'm doing really good. I'm keeping busy.
And hey, so what's your title here at Barter?
My title at Barter is Prop Master.
So you purposely call yourself a prop master,
Yes.
but you design all the props. So you're kind of like a designer, but you're not. So what's up with that?
I don't actually design all the props. I may design some, but the Derek does still do a lot of drawings for me. I get a lot of drawings from any designer we have. I may guide or help find furniture and stuff like that, but I am not the final decision maker. And this is why I consider myself a prop master. Just because yes, the small little weird things I will draw up and do, or if they hand me a picture, they say I want like this, then I do those drawings. But generally, I still just can't call myself a designer. It's
That's
just,
okay.
I figure I've worked my way to this level. I am the master at what I do. So I've mastered all of these different techniques. I still have a lot to go, but that's why I stick with prop master.
I have a feeling you like it better that way.
Yeah, I also don't have to do bios. That's the big reason.
So dare oh, that's true. Oh my God.
I
That's
don't
true.
have to do a bio every single program. I love it.
But really, you pretty much design all the props except for the ones that are specific to the scenic, right?
uh
Except for the ones that Derek
I guess
specifically.
I guess I do the layout for the paper props. I come up with the ideas of looking at how things are going to look like that. But it really is a team effort. Props, yeah, I design the flowers, I decorate, but it still has a lot of the designer who has the overall picture of it. Um, but yeah, uh, silly little things. Yeah, I'll design.
Well, what is a prop for people who don't know? What
Oh,
is a
yes,
prop?
I guess for people who don't know what props are, basically the way we like to say what a prop is, it's really hard to pin it down because we do cross over a lot of different things. We'll cross over into costumes when it comes to like puppetry type things. We'll cross over into scenery when it becomes like big pieces like bars and things like that. But technically, everything, the best way to tell a prop is everything that if you were selling your house and moving, it's what you pack up and take with you when you move. Plus, we do all your landscaping. So everything that makes a house a home is what I do. So it's the food, it's the stuff in your purse, it's the silly items on the floor, in your couch, hanging on the walls, all that kind of stuff. That's what the trash we've had to do. I can't tell you how many times I've had to do bags of trash or trash laying around. Um, Luckily, I've been lucky. I have not had this happen yet, but I've heard horror stories from other prop masters who they've worked tirelessly to trash up a place only to come in to have everything gotten cleaned up. Like unwittingly, somebody has picked up the bags of trash that were stuffed up against the side of the stage for part of the ambiance of the design of the thing. They've thrown the bags of trash away. But but yeah,
Well,
so
why would you want trash on stage?
because of all, it just depends on what's going on. Like if it's a street scene in a downtown, you want to make it seem apocryphal, or I don't know what I want to say, apocryphal, there's the word. um you have trash blowing around. Avenue Q, when he has given up on life and is living in we had to have pizza boxes and trash and stuff, so like the puppet hadn't cleaned his house forever, so we had to have little tiny bags of trash uh all over. So just things like that. Baby dance, when I did baby dance, I've done that twice, where you have the difference between the trailer where the person who the young girl who's gonna have the baby and give it up where she lives, and it's just horrible squalor is what it really was. and then you have this pristine, very high class hospital that's super, super ultra clean. I mean, when we did that when I worked in New Haven, when we did it, we actually tiled the bathroom for that. I mean, so we were in there grouting tile on a wall, so that it looked like a super clean hospital.
Awesome.
So it's lots of reasons.
So you take the time to collect the trash, make
Uh-huh.
it look like it's naturally occurring on the
Like it's
street.
nasty trash.
And then a stage manager who takes their job seriously comes and cleans it all away.
Actually, it wasn't a stage manager. It was house cleaners. It was like cleaners for the theater. It was up there. I've just heard these horror stories, and I'm just like, please don't ever let that happen to me.
Hey, so what's the purpose of a prop? Prop stands for property, right?
Prop stands for properties. Yeah. So it's like the property of the people and of the characters. Um, what's the reason for them?
What's the purpose?
Because you'd be lost without that mug. I mean, it would just seem weird. Why would people sit around and converse? So it helps make you feel like you're actually at home with the person, that these are real people. Because if you just stood around with nothing to sit on or pick up or hand to somebody, the play gets kind of a little more preachy because they're just sitting and talking.
Totally.
Because even if it is a show about two people just sitting and talking, they're still sitting on a chair, or they've got a table somewhere near them, because we don't live in big empty squares. We don't. And so without them,
Speak for yourself.
yeah. Okay. Maybe some of us live in big empty squares, but we always all have stuff. I mean, people have stuff, and it's something that actually ties us all together. Everybody has stuff. And
would you say it helps tell the story?
It does on some occasion. It tells period. So when you have something that's specifically 1970, if somebody walked in with a flip phone,
I was going to ask you about phones. So a director
right
says, I was going to ask you about phones. That's why I'm stopping you, because I'm setting you up for this.
Oh, phones.
Setting you up to show how smart you are. I mean, because you've been doing this for, how long have you been doing this?
She's I've been doing theater for 30 some years. Props, I've only been doing props for maybe 27 of those years.
Oh, only
20, like that. Only, yeah.
So you're a well-oiled machine. So here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
A director comes to you and says, we need a telephone for this play. What do you do? What's the first thing? Yeah.
The first question, well, the first thing, I already know the period of the play, so I know that. But my first question usually, is it a wall phone? Is it a desk phone? Is it, where are we? I need to know if we're in an office. Is it at the home? I need to know how long the cord needs to be. Because a lot of times directors love to wrap people up or walk all over the stage while the phone is still sitting on a table, which in reality, most people couldn't do, especially in the earlier years. Like early phones, there was a period of time when they started into that spiral cord. That cord was not very long. so I mean, you really only had enough cord to stand and talk at the table, and that's it. I mean, that cord maybe stretched 3 feet, that's it. And then they want to wrap somebody up in it, so you got to look at that. But yeah, the first thing is it a wall phone? Is it a cell phone? Is it a cordless phone? Because cordless started really big in the 80s, so you really kind of want to know where we are. And if they do go for a cell phone, an early cell phone, then you've got to hopefully find one of those bricks that used to be out there. Those are kind of hard to find, but you can make them. But yeah, so phones, believe it or not, are huge. And phones were just black or cream or actually they were just black for many years.
What's that called? Bakelite?
Yeah. But yeah, that's also important, is color. What color are we looking for? And even sometimes when you are in period, there may be a design reason why that phone, though it would be black, has to be another color. because it has to do with the design of the whole thing. Naturally, I would hate to paint a period phone because they're hard to get your hands on anyways, but
right.
yeah, it's interesting. Phones are neat. We got so many of them, and I still want to buy more,
I love telephones, and you and I have had conversations about whether the phone should actually ring,
Yes,
or whether it should be a sound effect from a recorded sound effect from a speaker, or whether it should be, a sound, somebody ringing something off stage, right?
Yeah, that cell phone ring that everybody has to just carries on, that they have to have the actual cell phone ring. And I'm like, think about it. We could do it with a speaker because it's really hard to call a cell phone. There are some cell phone ringing apps out there, and we've tried some, and
we have, and they're
worked and
less than.
They've done both. They are less than.
Thanks to that cell phone ringing software, diazepam stock has gone up.
Yeah,
which is Valium.
Valium. I was gonna say. Well, and the thing is,
I know it as diazepam because it's in my drawer.
Valium over here. No, because if you think about it, when a cell phone rings, every single one of us thinks it's ours. They could be all the way across the room, and the phone ring. You will reach down for your phone. If it's your ring, it's your phone ringing. So I'm always like, guys, can we just not ring it above the set? It doesn't matter that it's not that actual phone because nobody's going to figure it out.
That's right. But and that's what I think is so terrific, is that you and I know exactly the same amount of information about phones. Yeah. In other words, you and I both, because of our specific disciplines, know everything there is to know about phones, from Alexander Graham Bell
to Wycom.
Yeah, to Wycom, to Mint Mobile.
Mint Mobile, yes. Now, and it's true. I mean, and once again, here's the example how props really, you become a jack of all trades, because I have to know a little bit about everything. Because so now I can talk to you about phones. If there's a phone, after I find out what it is the director needs it to do, then I search out sound. Okay, guys, how we have to figure out how this rings. I need the phone dead center stage, which is always fun. How do we hide the ringer, and can we hide the wire? Can we drill a hole down? Which they always wanted on the center of my carpet. So yes, they want to drill a hole, but it's those little weird things like that does set the period. And phones, computers, another big one. Computer will tell you, a turntable will tell you what period you're sitting in, faster than anything else. There's, the print on the fabric of the furniture will make you think 80s. You'll be like, oh my God, I remember that. So.
Well, that's right. So we've been talking about a phone a lot, but that's just one prop of. Do you think a show has an average number of props? I mean, can you say, is it even fair to say, is it in the ballpark to say, hey, Helen, what's the average number of props you create for a specific show? Is that even a question I can ask?
No, not really. I mean,
because what does it depend on?
It depends. It depends a lot on the director, actually. And it depends on the way they want to go with the show. Like, okay, I mean, yes, you can. Man, that's a tough question. You can guarantee with a musical, you're going to have 6 million props. You're probably, maybe not that many, but you're going to have probably upwards of, it feels like it.
I'm sorry, that just made me laugh.
Yeah, it makes it upwards.
Because it made me laugh because of the direction we're going to follow up in after this. But anyway, okay, musical, 6 million props.
Yeah, musicals have a lot of props because they're flashy, and these are your big musicals. These are not like your Bridges in Madison County, which was a bit smaller. But like the big flashy ones,
Big Fish.
Tons. Big Fish. Big Fish had a ton of props. Big Fish was a
Singing in the Rain.
Yeah. The last one we just did, Producers had a lot.
Right.
A lot of dressing. I mean, well, I guess it had a lot of puppets. Never mind, it did.
Oh, we're going to talk about
It's
Shrek.
surprising. Then you have these surprising moments of um, like Shakespeare, very, very few props. And we just did on main stage, or not main stage, on the Moonlight. Sorry, it's an M. On Moonlight, we just did uh what is the one?
Tempest?
Dorothy. No,
Oh,
Dorothy.
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz with surprisingly small props. I have a ton of props for Wizard of Oz. We did not use that many of them because we were forced down to pare down because there's not the crew to move everything. There wasn't the space backstage to store a bunch of stuff. So it was surprising how quickly.
And it's a pared down.
Pared down.
It's pared down from stage area to
an hour and a half,
like that.
or an hour and 20. But yeah.
So you're doing props for musicals. So here's why I laughed.
Okay.
In 2018, 2019, I have some stats for you.
Oh dear.
And then a question.
Okay.
Okay. So I've compared some stats between some other Tony-nominated award regional theaters.
Okay.
So there'd be some equanimity. So in the 2018-2019 season, the Alley Theater did 10 shows, Goodman Theater did 9 shows, Arena did 9, Utah Shakespeare Festival did 10, Barter Theater 22.
How many of those were musicals?
I could tell you, but it doesn't matter because
a lot that year.
Yeah.
I think we did 8 musicals that year. Maybe 6.
Right. Bridges.
Like that. It was a lot of musicals that year.
But my point is, you did 22 shows those years.
Yeah.
Whether they were musicals or not.
Yeah.
You do all the players, right? I mean, your shop does.
My assistant does all the plays, but they do 10 shows in there. Yeah.
Okay, so now you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
What is your process? Let's talk about your process from page to stage. I mean, you have to read all the scripts for the season beforehand, right?
Yeah, I read every script. I think we get the scripts in September, October, somewhere in there. Right around.
If we're lucky.
We're doing Tech-Timber. We get a few of them. But by December, I have all of them because we've done our budgeting and everything. Somewhere in December, we do. Yeah, somewhere around when we're trying to put up the Christmas shows, we're doing budgeting. So somewhere in there, I have read, on top of putting up the last 4 shows, I read all the scripts. So so that entails every single night before I go to bed, I read as much of a script as I can before I fall asleep. Because at that point, all I'm doing is reading them. I just plow through scripts. I make mental notes. Sometimes I might even have a piece of paper where I just write down, huge musical, pay attention to this, find out about that. Just because I'm looking for key things like Shrek. If we're going to bring up one, Shrek, Dragon. How are we doing Dragon?
I was specifically going to ask you about
that. That was the big thing. And then there were several other puppets. So, I just make notes. And then we budget, and then I go back through and reread. And at that time, I make my prop list. So I know at the back of most of these scripts that you get, they have a list of properties. I do not read those. I specifically go through and just read and make notes as things happen. So, if there's a description of a room when they first walk in, I will write down everything that thing says. And then every time an actor sits, every time an actor picks something up and drinks, every time they talk about a specific thing, I highlight and write down, and that's what starts my prop list. Just because I like to do that before I test, talk with directors and designers and things like that, just because they might not be wanting to do any of it, but I don't want to be sidelined by, something silly that came up that I didn't know was there. So, yeah, so I make that prop list. And I'm getting better at, this is the one thing I'm still trying to improve at, is then I try and allocate what I think is going to cost money, what I'm going to have to buy, what I'm going to have to, what I can pull, what we're going to have to create. Um, Even sometimes what I might have to borrow, you know. So uh after I get all that done, then there is usually the design meetings that we all sit in and talk about and hear what the direction is. And then I line up a separate meeting with the director themselves so we can sit down and just go through the list. And that's basically all we do. We sit down. I'm like, okay, act one, scene one, here we go. Are we going to do this? What are you thinking? What are you seeing? You know, when Bertrand comes in with a pile of presents, you know, are we wanting it to be a stack so that we can't see them? Do we want the presents to fall separately? Do we want them to be connected together so he doesn't have to worry about them all falling all over the floor? Um, and so then we get through that. And by then, hopefully, I've either crossed things off or I've added stuff. And um, then I make myself a list for my crew as to what needs to be built. So I've been starting to use a lot of Trello, and I got Trello is amazing. I they were talking about it. I belong to this group called Spam, which is Society of Props Artisan Masters. And so it's nothing but props people. And you have to make your life professionally as a prop person to be able to join it. And we have meetings and we have conventions and we have a great fun time. But they were starting to talk about this thing called Trello they were using it up at Oregon Shakes. And
What is it?
I was like, what is it? And it's a thing out there that it's an organizational software. It's free. I'm sure there's also a paid level, but I don't do that one right yet. And what you do is you invite people to it and you create cards. And on the cards, you know, it's work lists. So you do, and it works exactly the way I was doing it at the shop, because I would have clipboards. I had 6 clipboards that hung on the wall, and each one of them had a show and had the to-do list. So it was like, you know, to do, pull rehearsal props, which you have to do. You have to go through, and I try and pull everything as I can that will be used. But then we also do have to just pull a bunch of rehearsal props because we got things we don't have that we have to build, or I need to reupholster that couch. So I don't want to give them the couch until I can get it done, just because it's hard to get things out of rehearsal. Once I get it in rehearsal, it is really hard to get it back out to try.
So you have to give them something to rehearse with while you're building the real thing.
Well, I'm building
For the
or
show.
reupholstering, or yeah, and it's got to be as close to what we think it's going to be as possible, because it is hard. The actors, I mean, yeah, I do 22 shows. These guys are memorizing 4 shows at a time, which you know, that's amazing. And so I don't want to throw them too many loops or curves. I try not to. It does happen. I'm the first one to admit I've done it.
It's unavoidable. I've done it too.
Completely unavoidable.
So you've got,
But
so Trello is like the clipboards.
it is.
You might
Yeah, it's
put
like the
rehearsal,
clipboard.
Gary or whatever his name is, pull these rehearsal props and bring them into the rehearsal room by this date.
Yes, and I can give them, and I can just I keep one set for myself, and then I just dish out cards, and everybody just, and then I know when they're getting them done because they click them done and send them off.
Awesome.
And it's like, you know, it's really nice. It's saving trees because I'm not typing as many lists. And then when
Highly organized, isn't
put
it?
it on, yeah, and that's, and I have to be, because if I'm not, things fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
And then Megan and I will start having weekly meetings. My assistant and I, we leave the shop. We found we had to leave the shop. So we'll leave the shop and we'll discuss the week. You know, this is what I need to get done. And since she's doing the players, because she does all the player shows, because I can't prop master all of it. So then
and again,
she
just
tells
for
me what's going on with the players.
And
so
again, the Players is the acting company that
that does all the young
shows.
audiences.
But they just
They do a lot of
for
stuff.
people who don't know, they perform on Gillum Stage or on Smith Theater, which is the smaller space, and they also go out and tour.
And they
So
tour.
these props, so these are not just Fisher Price props; they are full props.
And they got to be fanciful because their ideas are just like out of left field. A lot of their stuff, and they've got to be able to be dealt with by 8 people because they don't have a crew running stuff. They run it. So,
what do you mean by crew?
Crew, I mean by crew, like backstage crew, like stage hands. They do have a sound. Well, usually I guess the stage manager runs their sound for them too, doesn't they? Don't they?
Often there's somebody who runs the sound.
Sound and light.
Is the stage manager. Normally, I personally didn't design the player shows. I design the shows on the main stage. And so as far as operating, I mean, somebody operates the computer, but they all, I believe that they help out setting up the, if they have speakers to set up.
Yep. And they all set up the set. They all take down the set.
Microphones.
They rotate who takes care of laundry. So when you build
in the same vein, they all deal with the props.
So when you build a player prop, it's got to be taken care of by somebody who isn't, it doesn't mean anything. They're an actor first, a technician second. So it's got to be able to be fixed or dealt with by somebody who may not be as versed in tools. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're just as versed as we are, but sometimes they're not.
In what?
And it's got to take versed in working with tools or fixing mechanical things. It can't be super difficult because we won't be able to get to it sometimes because they're on tour or whatever.